So welcome. For those of you that are new then, I think there's probably a couple of you that are new or relatively new to this. You know that the TNN, the Nomadic Network, TNN is a global community of travel enthusiasts who support each other and inspire one another to travel better, cheaper, and for longer. We started at the end of 2019 with the plan of hosting in-person meetups in 22 different cities around the world to bring travelers together to meet each other, learn, and share travel resources with each other. There we go. Right now, we offer 3 different types of events. The travel presentations like this one, regional in-person meetups, and there's loads of those, which is great to see them coming back again, which will connect you to other travel enthusiasts, and travel book clubs, where we invite other authors to join the discussion. Here's some photos from some of our recent live events with these smiling faces of like-minded travelers. It's great to see. And here we are on socials. It's not just here that we do these live things. There's activities going on all on these social media networks. So whichever one is your flavor, there you are. Have a look. Get on there, get following us. Okay, a couple of housekeeping reminders, a couple of things to be aware of if this is your first one. Feel free to have your camera on if you want. It's lovely to see people here. It makes it feel like a conversation to see you nodding along, to see you taking notes. But we will be having your microphones off, just so that there's no background noise. There'll be dogs barking, or that you might have the sounds of the muezzin if you're in an Arabic country or whatever. We don't want to hear it during the thing. Second, the chat box is your friend here. All right, that makes it a conversation. If you want to get your voice heard, type a message in the chat box. If it's a question you want me to ask Jen later, just put question in capital letters and I will copy that and ask Jen about it at the end of the conversation. So finally then, if you find value in these events, consider joining the TNN Plus. That's at the end of this one. Consider joining the TNN Plus, the Nomadic Network Plus community. Not only will you get access to past and future replays of the events, you'll get loads of extras too. You can find out more about that at nomadicmat.com/NN Plus. And we're very grateful to our speakers who do this out of the kindness of their hearts and their passion for sharing their knowledge with us. We encourage you to connect with them on social media. I'll be posting those in the chat shortly. They have really valuable information to share, and you will want to create a bond with Jen today so that you can ask her advice and refer people to them later on. We are a network after all. Right, quickly, a couple of things about Jen. She's going to grin at this because it's all nice stuff. Jen is an online health coach and the founder of the Fit Nomad programs. Since her beginning in online fitness in 2017, she's helped hundreds of men and women around the world get fit from the comfort of their homes in the gym through her Sweat with Jen and fit professional programs. Over her years of travel, she's heard the same story one too many times. Keeping the travel pounds off is always much harder than expected. I know this personally. She's decided to change the narrative and create a program specifically for the travel community. And in mid-2021, the Fit Nomad program was born. Jen has been traveling and working remotely with her fiance since February 2020, visiting and living in over 25 countries together so far with no end in sight. Jen, welcome to the Nomadic Network. How are you doing?
Thank you. Good. Thank you. A little nervous.
Oh, bless you. No, you're amongst friends here. Don't worry. You really are amongst friends. We're all here to support you and encourage you for this great talk.
Thank you. No, it should be good. I'm excited to chat and share all things travel and fitness with you all. Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay, so when everyone's ready, I can share my screen and we can begin. Okay, so let me just get rid of this. Okay, can everyone see the screen? Or Luke, can you let me know if everyone can see the screen?
I can see it. It looks great.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so yes, we're going to be chatting health hacks on the road. This is a topic that everyone... Oh. Sorry, guys. Just need to stop that share for a moment. It didn't work.
Oh, no. No worries.
Let me,
Oh,
Here we
is
go.
it not?
Now it's working.
Oh, there you are. Perfect.
Now it's working. Okay, so yes, we're going to be chatting all things health on the road. It's something that I found out personally in 2020 when we left. Staying healthy on the road is actually much harder than you think it is, or more likely you didn't actually give it a thought before you left for the first time as to how this might impact your health. I actually left with the idea that I would be healthier than ever, giving up my 9-to-5 job as a financial advisor in London, where I spent 8-9 hours a day sat behind a desk. It's easy to think that when you're traveling, health will just improve. And for me, initially, that wasn't the case, even though I knew what I was doing, because you get distracted with so many other things. And along the way, I found many other people sharing the same story that I had. So as Luke said, to start with, I've been traveling now since Feb 2020, and there is no end in sight, but there is a little pause in sight at the start of Feb 2023, as I'm actually in my 3rd trimester of pregnancy right now. So I do apologize in advance. This is affecting my brain and mouth connection. My brain just tends to pause and my mouth cannot find a word to say sometimes. So I apologize if I'm pausing or some words just don't make sense. This is a unfortunate side effect of pregnancy, I'm finding. So yes, as we've kind of mentioned a few times now, I've heard so many times from other people on the road that they're struggling to keep fit. I actually even came across a post on it yesterday on Instagram, people saying they were shocked that they went home weighing 5-6 kilograms heavier than they left, and couldn't understand why, because they thought they'd been much more active, or people seeing photos of themselves and not being happy with the photos they were seeing of themselves whilst they were traveling, and it was the complete opposite of what they expected. So I think this is an extremely relevant topic for a lot of people. So hopefully you guys can get some value out of this today and get a few tips on how to make this a little easier on your body. So some of the unhealthy aspects of travel that we run into, if you're slow traveling, things can be a little different, but for those of you that are moving semi-frequently, the constant moving from place to place means you're never in a routine. Like, you don't have a home base. You never really get to know where you're at. And that can be hard on the body and on the mind. You're probably eating out a lot of the time. I know for us, we actually eat out 3 meals a day regularly when we're traveling, just because either where we're staying doesn't have a kitchen, or we're not there long enough to warrant stocking a kitchen. You know, if you're going to cook, you need things like oil, or the Airbnb kitchen won't be stocked enough, or you're staying in a hostel and maybe things are just a little too gross and not quite clean enough for you to want to use. So you do end up eating out a lot of the time, which can come with issues of its own. You know, you can't control portion sizes, the ingredients they're using. A lot of countries do like sugar. So we've spent a lot of time in Central America, which I know a lot of other people have over the last 2 years with COVID. And Central America loves to add sugar to everything. So you order a fruit smoothie, you think you're being healthy, and actually it's got tablespoons of sugar in it. So eating out can definitely be one of the unhealthy aspects of travel. And something me and Luke were just discussing before is just, you get into this holiday mode of kind of living in the moment. But when you're traveling longer term, so kind of 6, 7, 8 weeks plus, especially for those of us that have been traveling for years, you can't live in the moment every moment. When it comes to your health is something that it still needs to be considered. So obviously you're kind of on holiday, no matter how long you're traveling, you know, you're out there experiencing the world, but considering your health can add to the experience rather than take away. And I think being healthy is often the last thing on people's mind, because they think that is a detraction from the traveling rather than something that makes it better. Because if you're suffering from poor health, you're likely going to be experiencing like fatigue and low energy, which means you're not really going to want to be experiencing the destination you've chosen to go to. You spend all that time researching where you're going, you know what you want to do. And then when you get there, because your health isn't quite where it should be, you're tired, you're fatigued, you're just generally not feeling great. You might be experiencing headaches, a lack of concentration. Your body is going to be internally stressed. Your internal systems aren't working as well. Your digestive system, your immune system, you might be more likely to get ill or sick. So that can really detract from the travel experience itself. So there's obviously numerous ways or numerous aspects of health that we need to consider. And the biggest one everybody always thinks of is exercise. Now, exercise is obviously great for like how you look, which is the one reason most people think of when they think about exercise. But exercise does so much more for you than just improving how you look. It releases hormones called endorphins and serotonin, and it reduces other hormones known as cortisol and adrenaline. And we're not going to get into sciencey, hormony talk, but the output of this is that your mood is going to be improved. You're going to feel happier. You're going to have more energy. You're going to have less anxiety and stress, and you're going to sleep better. And the combination of all of this means that every day you're just going to be having a better experience. No one wants to be tired and stressed and worried and irritable, and those around you also don't often find that fun. So by placing your health as maybe not the main focal point, because ultimately you want that to be the travel and where you are, but certainly not having your health taking a back seat is going to lead to an overall better travel experience for you. Your mindset will be better. The higher increased energy, it means you're going to be making better connections. You'll be meeting more people. Your confidence will be increased if your health is good. I know this myself. I actually got a parasite in Thailand back in Feb 2020, and it really messed with my health because I didn't know that I had it for a while, and I ended up with anemia. And the impact of feeling terrible every day meant that I didn't want to go on the hikes or really be very sociable with other people in the evenings. I was just too tired, and everything was just physically challenging for me, which was a new feeling. Luckily, I got it sorted. Some great doctors in Guatemala diagnosed it for me and gave me some tablets to get rid of the nice little parasites that I'd picked up. And I started feeling much better. But it just goes to show how much of your health and how you're feeling internally affects the experience that you have of traveling. So now we've talked a little bit about the importance of maintaining your health while traveling. I want to share with you some basic ways that you can actually stay healthy on the road. One that a lot of people, no matter whether you're traveling or living at home in a kind of normal 9-to-5 life, most people live their life dehydrated. We don't drink enough water these days. There's too many other options available, and water is kind of the last one on most people's mind. But when you're traveling, this really is almost more important than ever. So I highly recommend that you aim for at least 1.5 to 2 liters of water a day. There are recommendations much higher than that, especially for those traveling. We go through so many different environments. You're flying, you're in air conditioning, you're in hot climates. All of these things add to dehydration. If you're regularly flying, for example, the cabin air is very dry, and it's actually recommended that you drink an additional 250 milliliters of water per hour of flight. So if you're on a 4-hour flight, you should be drinking an extra litre of water that day just to compensate for what you lost during that flight. The same with sleeping and air conditioning. You know, most of us are choosing hot climate places or hot air climates, and that's going to result in sweating. And if you're exercising in that climate as well, then you're obviously losing even more water. So it's really, really important that you're rehydrating. And there's some easy ways that you can do that, you know, carrying a water bottle with you, or these days the life straws are really popular, which mean you can get free water no matter where you are, because obviously a lot of places in the world also the tap water isn't safe for us to drink. So having something like a life straw, it's a one-off investment. I think they're usually around $30 or something, and it should last a long time, and enable you free drinking water wherever you are. Another great way that I personally try and do is not drinking water, only drinking water until dinner time. This means no alcohol predominantly before dinner. Things like smoothies and a coffee, you know, I'm an iced coffee a day kind of person. Can't live without a coffee. But predominantly trying to cut out alcohol until after dinner, because that does dehydrate you. And instead of having a beer at lunch with your tacos or your pad thai, try just having water. It'll serve you much better and hopefully reduce the hangover the next day if you're going out that night. And closely linked to water intake would be food. I'm sure everybody has heard that how you physically look is 80% food and 20% exercise. Or you might have heard things like you can't out-train a bad diet. And, you know, those things are true. You are what you eat at the end of the day. So if you're putting rubbish into your body on a daily basis, you know, those ingredients are going to repairing your cells. So then your cells are built with like rubbish. So making sure that we're giving our body everything we need and reducing the things that really don't treat it well is imperative to health. And it's so easy to do while you're traveling. So I know I mentioned earlier, most of you probably eat out at least a couple of meals a day. That doesn't mean that you have to be eating like junk food. Most of the countries we're hanging out in have extremely fresh sources of food that the restaurants all use. So it should be fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, like lightly processed carbohydrates, things like noodles in Asia or tacos or tortillas in Central America. You know, all of this stuff is pretty good for you, really. Like there's nothing bad in them. The main thing would be watching how much of those things you eat, because you can have too much of a good thing. If you eat too much protein, for example, your body is still going to store it as fat. So making sure we're not eating too much is really the main thing we should all be aiming for. And I've written out a few points here for how to make sure you're eating a healthy, balanced meal. So you still want to be eating out and experiencing the local culture, the local foods, but that doesn't mean your health has to suffer in order for you to experience that. So when looking at a meal, if there's no protein in the meal, it's not going to keep you full for as long. So you're going to be hungry quick afterwards. So making sure the meal includes protein is a great place to start. Second, I always try to make sure that there's a fruit or a veg included in my meal, whether it's as a starter, as like a little fruit platter, or just a side of vegetables. Like in England, we're used to a side of peas and carrots, you know, broccoli. That's a really great thing to try and add. And then considering the side part of your meal is also really important. So does the meal have to come with French fries, or could it come with a healthier option such as brown rice or noodles, or just a simple tortilla rather than fries? You know, small choices like that, if you make that choice 5 out of 7 days a week to take the healthier option, you could be saving yourself hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, in calories by the end of the week. That you know, the French fry, it's not even part of the local food, you know, it's just a French fry. That's not adding to your experience in any way. And the last thing with most main meals would be the sauce. So sauces can contain really high sugars and salts. So if you allow the restaurant to pour the sauce over your food, you're going to get the whole lot, because sugar and salt taste good. So obviously they want the maximum amount of that on your dish. So if you just ask for the sauce to come in a pot on the side, you can decide how much you want to add to it. So you're not missing out in any way at all. You'll still get the full flavor. You're just maybe not getting as many of the calories and the grams of sugar that you would have otherwise. And I've included alcohol in food because alcohol does contain calories. It contains 9 calories per gram of alcohol. And these are just empty calories. You know, your body isn't getting absolutely anything from that at all. However, it's also a big part of, life in general. It was a big part of my life in London, working in finance, going to the pub every day after work. And it's been a big part of my life traveling, you know, sitting out with a beer at sunset or in the bar of the hotel or hostel or whatever at the end of the day, chatting with other people. Like I'm definitely not a proponent of cutting alcohol out completely. I think in today's world, it has its place and we just need to learn how to drink responsibly. So in terms of your health, obviously not going overboard with it, just having a couple of drinks is, you know, it's acceptable, it's fine, it's fun. But choosing better options is what can really make a difference to your waistline. So heavier beers and sugary cocktails, you know, pina coladas and sex on the beach and everything, they're made with sugary juices or really heavy milk in pina coladas, in pina coladas case. So for me now, I actually only drink tequila with soda and a lime. Clear spirits are the leanest in calories. A shot is between 90 to 100 calories per shot. Soda water has nothing in it, and the lime just gives it a little extra flavor. So it's a low calorie drink in comparison to a 250 or 300 calorie cocktail. You know, you can have 3 tequilas for the budget in calories of 1 cocktail. So just making smarter choices. Not to mention the sugar in cocktails is actually what adds to part of the hangover. So if you cut that out, you kind of cut out some of the hangover as well. Yes, so alcohol, really focus on making better choices, you know, and if you're a beer drinker, then picking the light beers, you know, the Mick Ultras or the Amstel Ultras, anything ultra these days, they've all come out with the light beers because they realize that's the way the trend is going. People still want to drink beer, but they don't want to drink 200 calories per beer. These beers are now much lower in the 100, 110 calorie range. So much better for the waistline overall. And of course, maybe you're not eating out all of the time. Maybe you do have a kitchen and you're somewhere for an extended period of time, in which case I would really recommend trying to cook at least 1 or 2 meals a day. So I mentioned at the start, we're currently living in Mexico City. So this has been a real nice change for us. We have a kitchen. We're there long enough that I can stock it. So I've been cooking my own breakfast, heading home for lunch, and then we still go out to dinner to eat wherever and whatever we want. But I've maintained control over 2 of those meals a day, and I've ensured that my body has got what it needed without going overboard in calories or, you know, processed food or anything before going out for dinner, and still enjoying the local cuisines. So it's just all about finding balance when it comes to food, and it is a huge topic and one that a lot of people do struggle with. So another aspect that can really affect your health would be the location that you choose. I think predominantly in my experience, most people are choosing the warmer climates, which is conducive to looking after your health, because you're probably going to be on the beach, by the pool, out active. Over the colder climates where you might be, sweater weather a lot of the time and wearing jumpers, you maybe not looking to eat as healthy in those climates. I know in the UK, when it gets to winter, there's a lot of winter bulking that's done when it's sweat weather, it doesn't matter anymore. So if you're in a warmer climate, although not too warm, as if it's too warm, it can also be hard to, one, eat enough. Actually, you can end up going the other way, not eating enough, stay hydrated enough, and working out gets extremely difficult if it's too hot. So just considering the climate that you're going to be in, and what that might allow you to do. If it's too hot or too cold outside, you certainly won't be walking all over the place or hiking around. So that can really limit your activity. And that also links into the accommodation that you choose. So a lot of us often stay in hostels or hotels, sometimes Airbnbs. If you're in a really small room or you're choosing to stay in dormitories, that can really limit the space that you have. It can feel a little restrictive in the area that you have to use personally, especially if there's no good outside space in that accommodation. And I know a lot of hostels, at least previously, would offer a free breakfast, but the breakfast would be pancakes with Nutella. And from a health perspective, whilst it's friendly towards your budget, it's not too friendly towards your health. Starting a day with a lot of sugar, a lot of carbs, and really nothing else. It means you're going to be hungry very quickly after you've had a huge spike in blood sugar followed by a huge crash. And that's fine if you're 18, 19, 20 and only doing it for 3 months or so. But if you're making this a longer term thing, or you don't still have the metabolism of an 18-year-old, those kind of breakfasts really aren't the ideal start to the day. So just thinking about where you're going to be staying, especially if you're there for a little longer, 4 or 5 days plus, just does the place have any space for you to work out if you want to? Is there anywhere for you to walk? Does it have a kitchen that you can use? Is this a kind of well-known party place where everyone's going to be drinking and it's going to be really loud and you're not going to be able to sleep? Does it offer yoga? Things like that, just considerations for health if you're going to be somewhere for an extended period of time. One of the best things you can do is get a good night's sleep for your body. Obviously, the more well-rested we are, the more refreshed we are for the day ahead. So you're going to have more energy to go and explore, or if you're remote working, then get your work done. It's going to lead to better cognitive functions. Unfortunately, this baby is kicking a lot at night at the moment, so my sleep is hugely interrupted, and I'm sure you can tell this is having a large impact on my cognitive function abilities right now, with producing words and saying what I mean. It can also have an impact on your mood, though. So the more sleep deprived our body is, the more irritable we get. So not only is that not fun for you, but it's not fun for those around you. If you're traveling in a group or you're hoping to meet people, but you're feeling really irritable and low, it's not the best way to make a good impression and make new connections. So I'd really recommend, if you're on a tight budget and you're sleeping in dorms all the time, I know it can be hard, but just having earplugs and an eye mask, trying to get the quieter bed in the dorm, or if the budget allows, then getting a private room when you need to, just to get some sleep and top up. We really don't want to be on 4 or 5 nights of poor sleep in a row, or 4 or 5 nights of going to bed at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. and waking up at 11. That's completely off-putting your circadian rhythm, which does have a lot of implications to health. So another thing, obviously one of the biggest things, is just making time to move. So this does mean working out, but it can also just mean getting steps in each day. You know, whilst we're traveling, if you're traveling because you're remote working and you're still working for 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, you're probably actually sat for most of the day still. You've probably cut out your commute, but you also might be struggling to switch off. I know we do sometimes. There's no clear end to the working day, so you end up being sat for a long period of time. So really making time to get that movement in, it's only got positive repercussions. You know, you're going to increase your metabolism, increase your energy, increase your self-confidence. You're going to feel better in yourself. And you're also going to sleep better if you've moved throughout the day rather than just having been sat. So I really recommend trying to get 3 to 4 resistance sessions in per week. And by resistance, I just mean creating resistance against a muscle. So typically people think, well, I don't have dumbbells, I don't have access to a gym, so I can't do that. But you can do that very efficiently using just your own body weight. Or the easiest thing you can do as a traveler is to carry a few resistance bands with you. So as you can see in this photo, like I use resistance bands all the time. They just create a little extra resistance on your muscle. They're extremely cheap to buy. You can buy them from Amazon for like $10, $15, a pack of 5 different strengths. And I also personally travel with large bands too. They're called full body bands. And again, you can get them on Amazon and they just give you a few more options to work with. In addition, you probably have your backpack with you or a suitcase if you're not traveling for very long. You know, use what you have around you. If you have water bottles that are full, use those for bicep curls. If you can't drink the water where you are, you buy those big like gallon bottles of water, use those for your workout. Or even a small bottle of liter water, that's still resistance and you'll still feel it. If you don't want to just use your body weight. And a few other things you can do, you know, that seem less like exercising would be joining classes. So you're meeting people, you're out, you're active, maybe mixing with locals, or just swimming laps. If you're by the ocean, jump in the ocean. You know, that's a great way to burn calories. Plus it's probably cold, which burns even more calories. So there's so many things you can do to keep active whilst you're traveling. The excuse of, when I'm traveling, I don't have a gym, so I can't keep fit, it isn't really a valid one. There's so much that you can do if you want to, and if you want to make time for it. So there's a few other healthy habits that I think are important for people to try and fit in to this travel lifestyle. And the first one would be stretching. So we're sleeping in different beds all the time. We're on uncomfortable buses or planes. We're putting our body through, you know, exhausting work if we're like going for hikes or surfing or whatever. So stretching each day, it's just a really easy way to increase your blood flow, it's going to make you feel brighter. It's going to improve your appearance. It's going to reduce those aches and pains, you know, particularly around the neck and the shoulders. If you're working, you're probably on a laptop, you're probably sitting in uncomfortable positions. Stretching out at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day is a really good way to just release those muscles and those tendons. And it's so easy to fit in. You know, if you jump out of bed, 10 minutes, it will just really loosen off parts of the body that feel tight. If you don't know how, like I'm not a trained yoga person, so I personally use YouTube to find yoga videos. It's become especially important to me whilst being pregnant with prenatal yoga, but you can find 10-minute yogas, even 5-minute yogas or stretching that you can do with zero equipment and zero space. It just needs your body. You can even do it from the bed. You know, you don't even have to actually get up, but stretch off. It's a really good way to start the day and also to end the day as well. Another really good thing to do is jump in on those physically demanding activities that maybe you wouldn't normally. So stepping outside of your comfort zone, it's just going to improve your confidence. It's going to be an experience that you're going to remember, and you've just extended your comfort zone by doing that. So next time that won't be as scary, and you'll move on to the next thing that seems scary. So this is a really good way for just personal development, you know, and the places that we all like to hang out, there's always activities on offer that are going to push you physically. You know, scuba diving is a great one. I was terrified of the thought of scuba diving, but I finally pushed myself to do it January last year. And now I have 60, 70 dives under me, and it's one of my favorite things to do. And it's opened up this whole world and a load of destinations, such as Dahab in Egypt. You know, Dahab is a tiny little diving town, which if you don't dive, probably, I mean, there's a few things to do, which I highly recommend. But if you don't dive, there's not as much to do. So it's not as appealing or as much fun, and you don't get involved in the community that's there. But pushing yourself to jump in and learn and expand your horizons, it's a really great thing to do for your mental health, as well as your physical fitness and health. You know, things like scuba diving and surfing, salsa dancing, all of these things are really great calorie burners. And if you're doing them a couple times a week, then you could be burning thousands of extra calories, which is great for the waistline. It's great for how well you're going to sleep. It's going to be great for your skin, everything. So I'd really highly recommend just jumping in on demanding activities that you might initially shy away from. And the next one would just be walking. You know, I tell my clients all the time, walking is the most underrated thing you can do to improve your health. It's free, it gets you outside, it improves your mood, it's effective. And, you know, we've all chosen somewhere in the world that we want to explore. There's no better way to explore than on your feet. You'll see much, much more by walking. You know, one of my favorite things is to aimlessly walk around a city or along a beach. You have no destination in mind. You're just walking, you're taking everything in, but you're also getting your steps in. You know, it's great for your body. If you're looking for a new routine, then I'd recommend waking up, doing 10, 15 minutes of stretching, followed by just a 30-minute walk. You know, it's one of the best things. It gets you out in the sunlight and gets everything moving, gets blood flow moving. It's not an exact science because it depends on how much you weigh and the intensity of the walk and everything, but you can say roughly you burn 1 calorie per 20 steps. So if you were to set yourself a step target of 10,000 steps a day, which is really very easily achieved, even with a finance job in London tied to my desk, I still easily managed over 10,000 steps a day. So traveling, it's even more possible. And you're going to burn between 300 and over 500 calories per day just by getting those steps in. So it's such an underrated exercise, but it's such an efficient one. The next thing that's really linked to both physical fitness as well as your mental fitness or mental health would just be putting your phone down. You know, put the phone down, look around you. You spent weeks or months researching the destination that you want to go to. Now you're there. Enjoy it. You know, don't just live on your phone looking for the next destination. Our phones are something it's proven time and time again is like they're not good for our mental health. And whilst apps like Instagram and Pinterest and like the Nomadic network blog, they're great for research and discovering new places that we want to go. As long as we're then enjoying them when we're there and we're not just sat going, oh, but this person's now in this place and I want to be there instead. Or seeing someone that you think looks really good in their swimwear on the beach and it gets you down for the day because you're not feeling that way right now. So just having some time without your phone, particularly first thing in the morning, like I really try to not pick up my phone for at least half an hour after I wake up, to give me a chance to do my stretching and kind of start my day positively, rather than laying in bed, scrolling Instagram, and the first thing I see being a negative comment or something that gets me down. And then that kind of sets the mood for the rest of the day. You know, it means you're not going to want to maybe get your exercise in, or if you're working, you're going to be not as productive that day. So setting some time each day where you don't have your phone, and if you can, first thing in the morning is a really great time to have that no phone time. So I know we've kind of already briefly discussed it, but working out, bodyweight workouts are great. As you can see here, there's a whole list of positive effects of bodyweight workouts, obviously a non-exhaustive list. But the best thing about them is that you have no excuse not to get them done. Your body is with you no matter where you are, and you'll always have a tiny bit of floor space. And if you have a tiny bit of floor space, you can do so much. So outside of purely burning calories, you're going to be maintaining your strength. I can't say that you'd be building strength. You do need a greater resistance than just your body weight to build muscle. But you can certainly maintain the strength that you had pre-travel through body weight exercises. You know, we've been on the road since Feb 2020, and pre-pregnancy, I was actually never happier with my body. And I've trained to physique, like bikini physique competition stage before, and training this way whilst traveling actually led to me being even happier with the condition I was in. So putting down body weight only exercises and saying it's not worth it, like I'm not going to get anything out of it, your body will get so much out of it. And there's so many ways you can do it. You know, there's obviously the regular body weight exercises, your squats, your lunges, push-ups, etc. Almost all core exercises can be performed body weight. So you can get a little core workout in no matter where you are. Yoga is all body weight, and it's, you know, it's a really good challenge for the body. Or I think I mentioned earlier, you know, you're all traveling with luggage, use that luggage, create a weight from what you have around you, use the environment. You know, if there's stairs, then you've got a great place to do like box jumps on, or step ups or something. You know, if you know what you're doing, then you can create a really effective bodyweight workout from just your body and the environment around you. And going a little past that as well, things like surfing is such an amazing full body workout. You're going to burn so many calories. You're working all the muscles, including all your tiny stabilizer balancing muscles, you know, activities that still get you out. You're socializing with other people, you're experiencing the local things to be done, but you're also doing something great for your health. Another really good thing, which I did also briefly touch on earlier, is just do something that you're scared of. You know, step out of your comfort zone, do something exciting. That releases endorphins, and those endorphins are what gives you like the happy feeling. It's going to do nothing but add to your memories. You know, we should all step outside of our comfort zone once in a while, and we're all in places that offer activities that are going to push you out of your comfort zone. And it could even be as little as speaking to someone new, you know, or for me, doing this and doing a presentation is actually something that's terrifying to me. I'm not a public speaker. So chatting to you guys today is something that is a little scary, but, you know, it's pushing me outside of my comfort zone. And the next time this opportunity comes up, it won't be quite as scary, because hopefully I'll have made it to the end of this presentation. Another great thing you can do for your health is just making time to add joy into your day. You know, if you're remote working, then it's really, really easy to get caught up in, wake up, you have breakfast, you open the laptop, and you don't really leave the laptop until it's time to have dinner and go to bed. And that's just your cycle at least 5 days of the week. If you're working for yourself, then perhaps 7 days a week. And it can really detract from the experience, and it lowers your mental health. Your physical health isn't going to be as good because you're just sat. So I'd really highly recommend just deliberately making time to add in something fun. You know, whatever your definition of fun is, whether it's like a trivia night or a pub quiz night, or like going scuba diving or joining a fitness class or a yoga class, like whatever it is, just make time to do something that makes you happy. Okay, so prioritizing your health, definitely, in my opinion, makes it easier to have a more fulfilling time abroad. So you're going to have more energy, which means more fun whilst you're exploring this amazing place that you're in. So much to contrary to the popular belief that making time to prioritize your health is just detracting from the destination you're in, it's a waste of time. You could be out doing something, you could be at the bar, whatever else it is you want to be doing. Prioritizing your health actually means you're going to be having more fun. You're going to enjoy what you do much more. You're not going to be feeling terrible on the inside, tired, headachy, low energy. Like the trip around the temple isn't going to be an effort. You're going to be full of energy and you're going to enjoy it much more. Taking care of your health also means that you can join in on any and all of the physical activities. There's a lot of times that I've had people say that what's pushed them into realizing they need to take care of their health is that they couldn't do the hike, or they started the hike and they had to stop whilst their friends continued, or they just stayed behind altogether because they don't have the confidence to even try. So you're like, oh my goodness, brain malfunction. Sorry, guys. You're cutting your own experience short if you're not able to enjoy what the local destination has to offer. This boat is Via Ferrata in Kosovo, and it was extremely challenging, actually both mentally and physically. Mentally because it's, the side of a cliff and he's telling you to hang off it. So that was definitely pushing myself outside of a comfort zone. But physically, hauling yourself up the side of a cliff in, I forget how warm it was now, but it was pretty warm, is a pretty big physical challenge. And not being fit enough to partake, you'd miss out in one of the main things to do in the area. So keeping fit and healthy and exercising, I've also found, is a really good way to make friends and connect with others. Not just through the actual classes or activities themselves, but because your confidence is much higher. If you're taking care of yourself, you're doing everything you can to put yourself in the best situation. And that really comes out in you. You're more attractive to other people to want to spend time around you. You're then a positive influence on those other people. So making connections becomes just that little easier. Plus, if you're making friends through things like a yoga class or a hike, those friends are probably going to be a little closer in mindset to you than those that you meet at a bar, for example. So positive connections that who knows where they might lead. It might be a great thing for your work. I think I mentioned earlier as well, I was reading some Instagram comments of people that said they were hating the photos that they were looking back on of their traveling because they'd gained weight. They were just not looking as healthy as they had hoped they would. So if you're taking care of your health throughout the time traveling, it's going to do nothing but add to the memories. You're going to look back at those photos, not only of seeing the amazing places, but of knowing that you were taking care of yourself and putting yourself in the best position possible throughout those travels. So I hope they were some useful and helpful insights and tips. I don't think it's anything groundbreaking, but I do think it's things that don't always come easily to mind when you're traveling to do. So I do offer a free 7-day trial program. You can do anywhere in the world. It's body weight only. just to give you an idea of the types of things you can incorporate into your routine. So if you'd like, you can download the app. There's a program on there for you, just to give you an idea, and hopefully something you can build into a routine moving forwards. And then if anyone is interested, there are a few programs available for you. And then, of course, if you would like a copy of this presentation so that you can always look back over the information we've gone over, all of the insights, you can download a copy of this presentation from the link here, and I'm sure Luke might add it to the chat for you all to just click on directly anyway. But if anyone wants to get in contact with me, then my information is there at the side. Yeah, I hope this has been insightful for you and encouraging to keep it on the road.
That is fantastic, Jen. Yeah, absolutely. Someone's just asked for the link to the trial. I'll tell you what I will do. I'm going to just quickly type it in, and then I will share it in a moment. Brilliant. And you said for a moment there, Jen, you're not a public speaker. You are. That was fantastic. Flawless. You know,
it doesn't come naturally.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. So I've just posted Jen's website, Instagram, 2 Instagrams and Facebook in the chat. We're at 6 o'clock. So if anyone needs to shoot off, I know people have other commitments and whatever, do so. You've got that there. I've just got Jen's link tree up as well. There it is. I'll post that in the chat for you now as well. Perfect. It's all there. I have got a few questions, Jenny. Have you got a bit more time to answer these questions, or are you on a deadline?
Yeah, no, I have time.
Fantastic. But whilst we're talking about this, if anyone listening has further questions, drop them in the chat, and we'll go through them as well. If you're in here, you will get a copy of the recording, so you can always, if you've got to shoot off, John's just said he's got to shoot off, you can always come back and do those. So first question, what about things like supplements? On the road you can forget, with the best will in the world, you can forget those, that side of greens that you mentioned is always a good thing. Can you make do with something that comes out of a bottle?
I mean, yes, I personally take a multivitamin every day. I think they definitely have their use. Obviously, natural is better. It's how the body was designed to break down those minerals and vitamins. So yes, if you know you aren't going to be able to eat enough, I would recommend getting a general multivitamin. I wouldn't recommend going down into individual supplements without speaking to someone first, as there's some things, like, for example, you don't want to overtake on iron. So I wouldn't recommend an iron supplement unless you've been diagnosed with anemia and told to supplement, for example. But general multivitamins, yeah.
Good. Okay, fine. What about caffeine then? You mentioned you're a 1 latte a day sort of person. For me, I'd have 2 before even getting out of bed. What is that a bad thing? What about caffeine? Should you limit it? Should you have it in certain times of day, or have it without milk, without sugar, whatever, or without the syrups? I know they're full of sugar, aren't they?
Yes. Coffee, especially in countries where Starbucks and Costa, etc., is a thing, then watching what you order is definitely a big thing. I don't know if anyone else looks at menus, but some of those coffees have hundreds of calories in them from the syrups. So I definitely avoid at all costs those. I wouldn't have caffeine past maybe 4 p.m. Just because it's going to start affecting your sleep after that. So during the day until 4 p.m, yeah, a coffee or 2. Caffeine is a diuretic in itself, so adding extra water to kind of counteract is advisable. I I can't drink, I can't go without caffeine. I would never say don't have caffeine. I'm only on one a day right now because I'm pregnant. And it's recommended to stick to under kind of 200 milligrams a day. I would be more to 2 to 3 a day otherwise. But I do make sure that I don't have it past 4 p.m. And I'm also only having an Americano with a little bit of milk. So it's not adding to the calorie bank either or affecting my sleep.
No, interesting. Worth considering anyway. John asked a really good question. I think it was John anyway. He's had to leave, so we won't get the answer, but maybe he'll watch it again in the replay. Do you eat salads and uncooked vegetables? And if so, how do you avoid parasites? Clearly, was it in Cambodia or somewhere you didn't? Did you manage to? Yeah. Especially when eating out. You know, do you wash vegetables at home? Do you not eat lettuce? I've heard these things like avoid lettuce and stuff when traveling.
So I do eat raw and uncooked vegetables while traveling. I think my parasite came from some street food in Thailand, which I'm now much more picky about. If it's covered in flies, probably avoid it, or if it's been sat out in the sun all day. But when it comes to veg, I mean, if you're cooking yourself, then just wash it with the bottled water. So then it's fine. The vegetables in parts of the world, such as Central America or Asia, they tend to be much fresher than those we get. So they're not covered in the toxins that ours are anyway. You could ask the restaurant if you're concerned for eating out. I have asked restaurants before if the food has been prepared with tap water or with bottled water, and I've never had someone tell me it's been prepared with tap water. You know, if it's a place that foreigners are hanging out, people don't generally want their restaurant being the one people are getting sick from, I would assume. So I've never had an issue eating it. You know, if you don't eat many fruits and vegetables and you're just thinking you're going to increase, be prepared to have maybe some upset stomachs for a little bit as you're increasing your fiber and your body needs to adjust. So it might not be that the veg or the salad was bad as such. It might just be your body adjusting to increased fiber.
I see. That's interesting, isn't it? Because you go to these wonderful markets, particularly in Asia, don't you? And they're sort of stacked high with the most beautiful tomatoes and peppers and fruit that I wouldn't even know the name of. The sort of things that here are very expensive and very specialist, you know, but they're just picked from wherever and brought down on a cart, aren't they, to the market, you know? Yeah.
No, I definitely recommend eating them. You know, it's a great source of your micronutrients. Just wash them with bottled water or check with the restaurant if you're concerned, but I'm not generally too concerned about that.
Yeah. So even if you just washed it whilst you were walking along the street, just poured some water over it and, you know, that would be fine. You don't have to soak it. It doesn't have to be a thorough process.
No, I mean, just like pouring water over it and maybe using like a little tissue if you have it on you or something, or your hand, just to, you know, scrub away anything that's on the surface. But
no, perfect. That's worth knowing. And how can you tell when produce is responsibly farmed? Because talking to those markets, I've got that image in my mind. There aren't those tags, are there, like we have in organized supermarkets that say this comes from such and such a place?
Yeah. I mean, you can research the kind of the certified brand to see what that means. I know with some fish that's supposed to be certified sustainable, supposedly there's actually no oversight on whether a brand can use that or not. They kind of just apply for the certification and get granted it regardless. But I mean, I wouldn't like to comment too much on that. If you're buying fruit from a fruit and veg market in Asia or Central America or Africa, I think you can probably guarantee it's been sustainably farmed by a local. It's more so England, America, Europe, where that would be a question. And honestly, I wouldn't want to comment too much on that. It's not something I know loads about.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because we do have that whole thing about bananas that are grown in places that haven't contributed to deforestation and all this sort of stuff, which is a big thing in England. Certainly, I don't know how you would do that, but I suppose you've just got to have some faith, haven't you? Some trust in the local
I would say if it's something that's like really, really important to you and you don't want to just trust the label that's put on it, then spend some time researching it and research what the label means and what's actually gone into it.
Yeah, yeah. Lydia asked a fantastic question here. What are some of your go-to snacks or meals you prep whilst traveling?
So I think I mentioned whilst we're actually traveling, we don't prep meals, we eat out 3 times a day. But snacks, if I can, I always like to have protein bars on me. They're really filling. You do need to be careful with protein bars. Some things are labeled protein bars that are actually just sugar bars and don't contain much protein at all. But protein bars, nuts are always a good one. I love rice cakes with peanut butter on them and like a few berries or Greek yogurt with berries and a tiny bit of honey. Anything that's kind of got some protein and lower GI carbs, so not like a piece of white bread, like toast, butter and toast isn't really giving you very much. But yeah, Greek yogurt and berries is a really good one, or that's not particularly portable, but rice cakes in a jar of peanut butter is a pretty good one just for a tiny little snack.
Nice, like it. Great questions, great questions. I'm going to drop your socials in the chat again for anyone, and I say they definitely should go on and follow you there, because you've got some great content on your Instagram and those sorts of things. Right, there we go. Jen, that was wonderful. That was so good. Thank you. How do you feel having done it?
Relieved.
Oh, it was great. I'm just going to share my screen one more time to tell you about the events that we have coming up here on TNN. So can we see that? Can you see that, Jen? Give me a thumbs up if so.
Yeah.
The upcoming events we've got in the next couple of weeks, we've got Chris talking about his Dogs of Nam book, which is fantastic. I've read it myself, and he is talking about the lessons learned abroad during his 10 or so years traveling. On the 8th of December, how to travel the world without paying for accommodation, which is always a great topic of conversation, and how we can travel for cheaper, for longer. And then at the start of January, make 2023 your year of travel. These are all online events, and obviously you can get them then nomadicevents.com/events, nomadicnetwork.com. And the meetups, there's loads of them, all at that link. These are just the next 3 that are upcoming: Denver, Singapore, and NYC. All right then. And also Nomadic Network tours are getting booked up for next year. I've seen some of these on Instagram. I've not been lucky enough to go on one myself, but I've seen a few of them and they look fantastic. nomadicnetwork.com/tours. And Chris, again, there he is, sneaking into ours for the book club. That's next week or the week after. Cool. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been brilliant. Jen, you've been amazing. The questions were great. It's always lovely to engage with you here at this community. And I look forward to seeing you again next time.
Cool. Thanks, Luke. Thanks, everyone.